Hey, hello again. Welcome to the new live stream. Today we are talking about knowledge and skills that make you a great project manager. So, if you're joining live, great, say hello in the chat and let me know if you are a project manager or not. This way I can level my explanation to the level of the audience. So, just say hello, maybe where you're from, and what's your current title, right? So, as it relates to skills, knowledge in project management, I've been mentoring project managers for more than 12 years already, and I saw one biggest mistake that almost all IT project managers make, and they are thinking like, I need to learn one more process, one more tool, and maybe, just maybe, once I do it, my whole project management system will fall into place. So you'll start delivering on time, within budget, and you will do it confidently, repeatedly in any organization. So you are just missing one thing, and I totally get it. Because with all the certifications, with the PMP certification, with Prince2 certification, we're conditioned to believe that we must master these huge project management frameworks, hundreds of processes, tools, and techniques. And just here, what I'm showing you here is just a very short list of process tools and techniques from PMBOK guide. And when you look at it, it feels like, yeah, I need to know it all. And if there are like 107 items on this list, there might be even more that I need to know. And most probably there is some secret ingredient that will make it all work together as a whole. So that's a problem. And you see, like, let me ask you one question. If you are already a project manager, then you should know the answer. So, have you ever worked in a company that actually uses this huge project management framework end to end? All its pieces, all its processes, all settled into one big framework where tools are connected, everything is implemented either in a project management tool or as a separate set of tools. Like you and I already know the answer. I'm pretty sure that neither me nor you worked in such an organization where you can use all this knowledge and skills. So you see, like project management, as many people think about it, they think about it like a puzzle where all the pieces fit together and they create one big picture. And there is only one place to put it right and match it with other processes and tools. Well, I suggest that you start thinking about project management as a Lego set where you can combine different pieces and still, with some creativity, you can come up with something tremendously efficient and it will work as a whole. So, in project management, you often need to find quite creative way to implement some processes inside the tools and processes that you have inside your organization and inside your project. So you see, like you can spend years trying to learn everything that you see on the screen, plus maybe two more screens of just naming processes and tools that we can use in project management, because we don't even touch agile project management here. So, and at the end of the day, you won't be able to lead a big and complex project. You will never feel confident about leading those projects, because when you'll try to do it for the first time, to combine all the pieces, let's imagine you join a company, you have a big project, and it starts from zero, from business idea, and you need to put the whole project management framework from start to end. And if you'll try to do it right the first time on such a big project, well, everything will fall apart. All your Lego pieces will not work together. They will not click, right? So my recommendation is that you need to develop one skill, and this is a critical skill that most project managers are lacking today. And I mean that you need to stop consuming all this information, trying to cram all the knowledge you can find on the internet, trying to find that missing ingredient that will explain it all. And instead, you'll start focusing on a skill that you must have heard already, and it's called a tailoring skill. And you will start finding ways to combine different processes and tools inside your current projects. And you will start identifying which pieces are missing, which pieces are inefficient, and how you can implement. And you will start doing it one by one, right? Because, again, if you look at it, you will notice that all certifications, they actually give you, like this one, these diagrams, very high-level concepts, inputs, outputs, all. Create WBS. Seems like a very trivial task. You create WBS, you have inputs, you have outputs, you have some tools and techniques like expert judgment and decomposition. And it feels like that's all it takes to get and create a work breakdown structure. But just from this picture, just from these diagrams from PMBOK guide, you actually can see that there is definitely a missing piece. What about meetings? What about communicating with all your teams and stakeholders to create it? What about the tool that we use? Where do we put this? And if it's not a standalone tool, then what it is? How do we actually implement a work breakdown structure in our tools? So again, stop trying to learn and find that missing ingredient. Start finding ways to implement these concepts, ideas, processes, tools inside your organization. All right, that's a kind of introduction, guys, for you. So if you are just joining and you don't know who am I, why I'm talking about project management, let me do a bit of housekeeping and introduce myself for a quick second. So my name is Dmitro Nizhbetsky. I am a project management mentor for many years already. And most probably you're watching this on my YouTube channel, where I published hundreds of videos. Now we have these live streams. We have almost 50,000 subscribers of project managers here. And I'm author of the project management book here and creator of a mentorship program called Career Accelerator, where I teach project management and career development for IT project managers. All right, so that's a bit about me. Now, one important thing, as it goes always with these sessions, it's a Q&A session. So yes, I'm giving you some foundation, some context of what we're discussing today, but the big idea, I'm here to answer your questions, any questions that you have, but it's better if we keep to the topic of skills and knowledge of a project manager. If you have any related questions, that's okay. I'll try to answer them all, and I'll try to explain a few things more on this live stream as well. So let me see what you have in comments. Gulab, man, I'm glad to see you. I think you haven't missed any of the live streams so far. Glad to see you so much. So Soon from UK, nice. And Tevas 222, good evening, good evening. Ariel. I'm sorry, by the way, guys, if I butcher your names, because it's very hard to read them correctly from the first sight. Glad to see you. Oh, Rodney. Hi, Rodney. Rodney is one of my students. Glad to see you here. Uh, okay, guys. Nice. So prepare your questions, please. Go like think about what's the pressing matters you have about your development, professional development. What skills you need, what skills you lack, how to develop them, anything that relates to your work. And by the way, the right thing to think about project management skills is to start with a problem that you are facing. You see, also lots of project managers think that, and this is a common dialogue that I have, is that how to become a great project manager. Oh, I need to develop skills, and skills in air quotes, because I usually ask what skills specifically. And they say, okay, I don't know, maybe risk management, maybe project management, maybe I need safe. Oh, negotiations. I need negotiations because it's hard to communicate with customers. And like, okay, but why? You should be asking yourself what problem you are trying to solve. So if you want to ask the correct question and get the correct answers from me, it will be great if you start with the problem that you are facing, and maybe you'll ask what skills you are lacking, or what's the solution to those skills. All right. So I'll give you a few minutes to think about your questions. All right, Laura here. Um, glad to see you. Just Star. Glad to see you too. James too. All right. So very quickly, I'll jump back to my slides and show you one interesting idea that you should be already familiar with. I just want to show you the complexities sometimes that arise in project management. And this is a chart that ideally you should have in your head. If you draw it for your environment, for your current projects, it will be even better. But that's the conceptual design of how, for example, scope management work, from requirements management to scope management. And what happens during trainings, especially PMP trainings that you get, or online courses, they're usually, and by the way, if you are Googling something, if you are Googling for videos or some articles on a specific topic, you usually land on just one component. For example, this is requirements and scope management workflow, but you will see right away that it starts with a project charter, which is kind of project initiation, project integration topic, if you look at it from perspective of the PMP certification. So quite often what happens is that, okay, I have a problem with the requirements, so I go for requirements traceability metrics. And you read everything you can find about requirements traceability metrics. You watch a lot of videos, but you are like looking at it as isolated thing. And then you get a template, for example, and you're looking at it and you don't see like all the fields there. You see like very common problem when you take a RTM template and you have two fields, one for project goal and one for project objectives, but you don't have neither project goals nor project objectives in your company. So then you'll start to either like just removing stuff without understanding the pros and cons of how you tailor that document to your needs, or you just start artificially filling it out, never talking about goals and objectives of the project with your stakeholders. So it's the information which might be very misleading in the long run. Now, another thing that you want to understand, that this is like in PMBOK guide, this is a conceptual design of requirements management. And in real life, in practice, each arrow, each block on this diagram is actually a process, a workflow, a transformation of information and data that goes from one tool to another. So things like in here, like how do you get from project charter with its goals and objectives into requirements traceability metrics? Well, it depends. It depends whether your RTM is a standalone spreadsheet or you try to implement your requirements traceability metrics inside Jira, for example, which is totally possible. And inside Jira, you can implement it as a standalone document, or you can use all the custom fields to create the same structure with project goals and project objectives, fill it out, prioritize, and all the good stuff. All right. So, and as you understand, you need to have a diagram like this in every knowledge domain of project management, like risk management, requirements management, cost management, schedule management, task management. Everything should have some kind of workflow that you have. And the set of such diagrams that you will create for yourself will be actually your practical project management approach or project management framework that you will use. Because it works like this. You gradually develop your project management approach because you work in the same environment, you do almost the same projects, and you get familiar with a certain way of doing things. And even if you get another job in another company and start a project there, most probably what will happen, you will take what you have in a new environment as a like mandatory stuff, but you will try to adapt and implement the project management approach that you are familiar with, that you are comfortable using. And if there are missing tools or pieces, you will try to add them. So that's why when I say that we need to develop our practical skills, in most cases, I refer to an ability to create a project management framework, your own project management framework, which you can take with you to any new environment. And you can basically install it and adapt it with the existing project management tools. And you obviously understand that your project management framework should be adaptable and flexible enough to integrate with anything that company might have. So it should be in some sort, it should be agnostic to tools and processes they use. All right. So whether they use Jira, whether they use Microsoft Project, you know how to integrate requirements traceability metrics, right? Good. I have a lot of other diagrams that I want to talk through today, but I'll mix a bit. I'll answer a few questions and I will get back to other requirements, risk management, reports, and stuff like that in a bit, all right? And I will be here for about 2 hours with you, so take your time. Don't go because you might miss something valuable. And if you want to refer any slide and ask questions about that specific slide, please point it out, right? All right. Oh, by the way, if you want to learn all these concepts and basically what I'm trying to teach here, the project tailoring, and I believe that's the most critical skill. You can use your phone, you can scan this barcode and get my professional development plan, where I will share with you all the areas that you need to cover with tailoring. And I'll give you some great examples of what you can do and some corner cases which you don't think about right now. So I'll keep it here for a second. If you want, you can scan it, or there is a link in the description below this video somewhere. You can click it and get this development plan. All right. Let's see what comments we have today. All right. Hello. All right, skills. James, do IT PM have to know how to code? Their answer is definitely not. You don't need to know how to code. I refer to this like skill set as a technical awareness, and I have several videos on that. I also have a video that shows how I do some research and develop my technical awareness in mobile development, so you can find it there. But basically, that means that you need to know technology on a marketing or executive level. You need to understand what a technology or piece of software does, and you need to be able to explain it. In terms of coding or software development, you definitely need to know software development lifecycle. You need to know what it takes to write code. So you need to understand the nature of work that your software engineers and developers do, because it's not just like typing letters on the keyboard. There is like multiple stages where they need to research, conceptualize, review their code, write their code, and like actually writing is the least time consuming part. Like thinking about how to structure it and how to implement it within the existing code, it's the biggest part of work. So after that, you'll have a lot of technologies like Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure architecture. So what you need to do is to go through all the typical titles and names of those components of our architecture and understand why we need them, what they do, how to use them on this high level, so that you can understand what developers tell you and you can explain it to the customers uh, and your stakeholders who are not technical. All right. So how will you pick up an existing project and what documents will you start with? Great questions, by the way. So if I'm picking up a new project, I have a typical workflow that I follow. And first of all, you start like from day one, you go into the stakeholder analysis mode, mindset. And lots of project managers that I work with don't understand this, because when you join a company, you have this period, onboarding period, where you meet with people, like they introduce you to other people. This is actually stakeholder management at its essence. Don't treat it as a friendly small talks with these people. No, it's stakeholder management. You need to ask the right questions. You need to uh, understand their level of engagement, their interest, and this underlying interest, why they want to interact with your project, who are they supporting in the organization. All of that happens during the first day when you join a team or a project. That's one branch of activities. So whenever you meet, take your notes, ask the right questions. What are their role on the project? What they expect to achieve from the project? How do we work together? And so on. Second, you need to start winning your team or establishing yourself as an authority leader in the team. And again, I have a process and I shared it on YouTube. You can also find the video how to introduce yourself to a new team. And basically, this process uh, allows you to quickly find problems that you can solve, and this way you can establish yourself as a leader and help the team to overcome some problems and build trust and authority at the same time. And like another branch of activities for the first 7 days, I would say, is that you need to understand what is the nearest deadline or commitment that you must meet. Because you are joining an existing project, there was some agreements before you, and they still stand. And you need to go and ask around and see what is the burning problem that you need to resolve. Only after that, you start analyzing project management processes, tools, how it works, what you can improve, what tools you can change, and so on and so on. Also, it's critical, and it's another maybe one of the biggest problem that I see, guys, is that when you accept an existing project, do not accept by default that this project is feasible. Just because it's an ongoing project and someone started it, for some reason they left, now you taking over this project, there is an assumption from every side that this project can be done within the constraints that were previously discussed. You should be very careful with it. And I recommend that you start communicating as much as possible about possible risks that you see. You start planting the idea that this project might not be feasible until we prove otherwise, until we have the plan and all the data, right? So these are maybe the four things that I would do during like first week or two of the project, depending on the onboarding sequence, or if there is a process to start at that company. All right. Good. Let's move on. How does the role of an IT project manager differ when working in agile versus scale agile environment? That's a good question, and that it has a lot of practical challenges. Let's try to break it down. So, if we're talking about agile and we have a role of a project manager, I assume it's agile project management environment, which means it's not pure agile, it's not pure plan driven, it's a hybrid life cycle where you act as a scrum master for your scrum teams, but at the same time you are also acting as a project manager on a higher level, and you oversee the whole delivery of all these projects for your customers. So in this case, you are more of a project manager than a scrum master. You should be dedicating more time on high-level planning, ensuring the delivery of the features and the product itself, hiring the right people, resource leveling, all the good stuff. So it's more about project management. When you are in a scaled agile environment, there are no project managers, and there are no like even agile project managers, as we just discussed, because in scale agile environment, you either a scrum master or you are sitting at the top of the hierarchy as a program manager, or whatever the title is in the SAFe or any scale agile environment, where you ensure collaboration between the Scrum teams inside the SAFe organization with other pieces of the organization. In this case, your role is completely different. You might be combining it with the SAFe Scrum Master at the same time, so you'll dedicate a few hours a day for Scrum ceremonies, and after that, you will be running around ensuring that all people in the organization in this program, because Scale Agile is actually a program management framework, you will like spend a lot of time to ensure that your software development team has all the required information and requirements to keep working, and you are removing all the impediments and dependencies on other teams. Okay, but if you are just a Scrum Master in a scaled agile environment, then you'll focus more on Scrum ceremonies, plus, again, dependencies on other teams. Because the biggest challenge with SAFe environments, if they have one product that you develop, you'll have risks and dependencies on other teams. That would be a main topic for you to cover all the time. Rodney, what do you need to do to revive a failing project when you are a new PM with recently approved limited budget? That's another crazy, great question, which often happens, and I'm kind of almost answered. But the idea is that, first of all, you will start with understanding the business side of this project. If it's a vendor, client-vendor relationships, you need to understand how important it is to save relationships with this client and deliver the project, how much leverage you have in wasting or using companies' resources to make this project happen, or something in the middle where you will try to negotiate and push this customer to a more realistic project plan. All right. When you have this strategy, the first step that you need to do is to, again, not assume that the project is feasible under these approved budgets and other constraints. What you need to do is to come up with a realistic plan and show them possible alternatives. If we go for a realistic plan and it's beyond the limited like budgets limits, you have at least two alternatives. You say, okay, move the deadlines at the budget. Here's how we deliver it. Here's the proof. I provide you with all transparency, all the risks, all the buffers I put in. Here are all the estimates. You need to make a decision. If it's not acceptable, we can remove some scope to and try to keep as much business value in the project without those features. And this will allow us to either get closer to the constraints or even like meet the constraints. But again, it's a kind of a trade-off situation. If it's a lose-lose situation where customers say, no, you must do everything that we agreed upon at the start of the project by these deadlines, by this like within this budget, then the problem becomes like, and from your side they say, no, we're not wasting any resources. They get, what they're paying for. You must like make like try to do whatever you can. And you need to try to do whatever you can. In this case, you are just going to do a lot of negotiations. Ideally, you will involve your top leadership to ensure that if there is a negotiation possibility of a win-win situation where they reduce the scope, but you add more resources to cover some of the losses because of failing part of the project, you need leadership to make this agreement and ensure that it will actually happen. In this case, the biggest challenge is to be as much as possible transparent and provide enough proof and data to the customers to show them that most probably you need to make some trade-offs and come up and accept a realistic plan. I know this type of projects, and in most cases, your leadership, your employer, will push to say that there is no opportunities to make these negotiations. You must do something magical here. And in this case, my recommendation is to wait in whether you want, I would say, to suffer through this project and try to do something or do your best and fail in the end later, or you want to be a transparent leader who will try to communicate it and as much as practical help customers achieve their business needs without any like overload for the team. In both cases, you are kind of need to be transparent, but you should be ready that your job is at the line here, and you need like plan B, right? So if you are put in such situation where you cannot find a win-win solution, so after you provided all the transparency, all the alternative solutions, and they don't accept any of that, I would say that like this is either a project that you need to accept that you will fail and take the consequences, or you need to accept that you failed it and go find proactively a new project. Again, guys, if you are listening here, I want you to understand that project management is not magic. Sometimes projects are simply not feasible within these constraints. So at the same time, a lot of project managers are afraid to communicate that it's not feasible because customers may like cancel the project, take out the funds, and your boss and your employer will not be happy about it. Or your department will take these resources and put them somewhere else, and you are left with no project, something like that. But I believe that our role, project manager's role, it requires us to be fully transparent. And basically, that's why I recommend to have a great resume that allows you to get another job quickly, because you will often find yourself in situations where you have to deal with these unethical situations for yourself, where you're pushed to do some magical stuff, maybe even to push your team to do it, to force them to do something that they don't want to do. So, up to you. But be ready that it's just not feasible. All right. Technical awareness and action have online. Good. Thanks for chiming in. All right, guys, I maybe want to show you one about and this goes back to transparency part that I've just been rambling about. You see, if you have a big IT project, one of the major issues that I noticed that project managers have is, again, a lack of transparency, and the lack of transparency usually happen in the area of what is in the scope for this project of this release. And this boils down to the idea that you collect requirements from different sources, and if it's a large IT project, you have hundreds of stakeholders or multiple departments that you need to work with. You'll end up with multiple sources of these requirements. You will end up with a huge list of possible great ideas. And somehow you need to organize that to ensure that all stakeholders understand what was accepted into the project scope, what are you working on, what requirements are in which stage. And often people on the other side, outside of the project, they have little understanding about the state of the requirements. So what I recommend that all of you do is to ensure that all your epics, all your user stories have a clear indication in which state they are in, whether they are new and no one analyzed them, whether they are already have all the requirements and can be estimated. Maybe you can take it into the next release, next sprint, or maybe the requirements require additional input from customers. Maybe it requires their approval, so they need to read it. Or maybe they need to understand which requirements they initially asked for and which requirements they added after the project start. So you might need different perspectives with different groupings or slicing of this information, so that they understand what's in the scope of the project. Because from one side, if you take a long project, like more than 6 months long project, the customers, the stakeholders that provide you the main requirements, they don't keep all this information in their head. And you need to continuously remind them about what you are working on, what they included into the scope, and so on. Because with this information, it becomes very easy to control their expectations, because they add new requirements. You say, okay, these requirements doesn't fit into deadline. Are they must have? Maybe they are nice to have. We have alternatives. If they are must have, we can include them, but then we need to push the deadlines. Or we can put them into the next release. Or we can remove something from current sprint. Maybe some requirements are less important. So additionally, some kind of prioritization is needed. And I need you to understand that your stakeholders, specifically your project owners, customers, clients, whatever you call them, they cannot read your mind. They need this behind the scenes access to see what's going on. If you like communicate with your clients with the reports which you send once every 2 weeks or once a month, that's not enough. Because in this period, like a lot of things happen and a lot of things doesn't happen because it's just not enough touch points for them. So one of the critical ideas for both, by the way, a lot of questions that I answered, the root cause is this: they don't have enough transparency and touch points about what you are working on, if you are working on the right things, whether they have transparently and clearly communicated that that should be included additionally to the scope of your project. And there are multiple ways you can do it. Again, this is like tailoring it at its best. You can write it in a report, your progress report, and every week you include a table which lists all the epics. So you don't want to, by the way, overwhelm them and push all the user stories. It's not their level. You want to group them somehow into epics or features or call something as a parent item and track the status for them on that level, whether you are collecting requirements, whether you are in active development, whether you are blocked by something, and therefore there are action items on that list, right? This is this will eliminate, I don't know, 99% of all the problems that an IT project can have, right? On the surface, very simple idea. In practice, it's quite hard to implement it with the tools and processes so that you don't copy paste a lot of things around just to give this kind of report, right? Now, let's move on, guys. Good questions. Hi, Dmitrana. I'm trying day by day to learn how to be a confident PM. This channel gives a lot of stuff which actually people need. Go ahead. Thank you so much, Radovan. And by the way, glad to see you here. Yeah. Again, if you were following me, I know and I explain where the lack of confidence comes from. And it comes from the idea that you guys bombarded with this theoretical information from big certifications like PMP, and everyone actually retells what PMBOK guide suggests. Every blog, every YouTube channel, they just retell the same information. Maybe someone shares their practical experience in implementing that. But you need to understand that most of the things that you learn, you should be very careful about the source. So what's the source of this information? If you do a bit of research, you'll find out that a lot of current blogs and a lot of YouTube channels, they're actually a part of some SaaS project management tool, project management software, and they create all this content because it's very hard as an individual project manager to get to the top of the search engines, to the top of YouTube. That's why you always see something which is written by copywriters, marketing editors, and so on. People who are professional writers but not professional project managers. They just reiterate and repurpose the same information all the time. That's why, and subconsciously you can see it, you understand all of this. When you read a blog in Vrike, you understand that Vrike doesn't have like project managers who are sitting and writing their blog posts. No. That's why it's very uncomfortable to even accept it or think about it, that you learn project management from copywriters, from marketers and advertisement materials. And even if you go to the PMP certification, PMBOK guide, then you learn the stuff that is kind of good in project management, but at the same time, it's so theoretical that it borderlines with total inapplicability, if you want. It's totally useless in the real world because just look at this diagram. What can you tell from it how to create a work breakdown structure? You can't. It's a very conceptual level of information that you learn in PMP certification and similar certifications. All right, but thank you, Radovan, for an honest comment. I do understand that lots of project managers have this problem with confidence, with imposter syndrome. And yes, one of the goals is to help you to overcome it by deeply understanding how project management works. All right, how do PM support POs and BAs? Okay, that's a great question. So if you have dedicated people and as business analysts or product owners, and depending on the hierarchy in the company. So let's start with the business analyst. If you have a dedicated business analyst, you manage this person as a team member, but very expensive team member, and you organize their work. You don't write, ideally, you don't write and collect requirements yourself. Instead, you use project management tools like requirements traceability metrics, like WBS, any Jira organizational structures that you can, to tell the business analysts which requirements you need when. So basically, what requirements they should focus on, what's the priority of the requirements. Because again, you need to imagine that we never wait for all requirements to be ready. Instead, we start the work as soon as possible. And then in the process, we always collect additional requirements and refine high-level requirements that we collected in the first place. So it's an ongoing process. You must have heard about the rolling wave planning technique, rolling wave just execution, which means that you will start the project, you will analyze some initial requirements, collect high-level requirements, you will specify some requirements to start the work, and then your development team will start this implementation. And while they do the implementation, the development, you work with business analysts to prepare the next batch of requirements for the next sprint or the next phase of the project. And this way, you collaborate with business analysts to help them prioritize their work. Sometimes you will have to also participate with prioritization discussions with customers. If you see a lot of requirements and there might be different scenarios, some requirements are not ready and cannot be ready for the next sprint, for example, you need to renegotiate the major priorities for the project, what you will take next. There's something that you can collect requirements on and start development, right? The same goes for POs or project owners, but in most cases, these project owners or project managers will be higher level managers or executives. That's why you will need to collaborate with them more. And in this case, you are usually trying to build processes that will allow efficiently use project owner's time. So basically, you need to build a process where product owner, product manager works with your business analyst to find the right requirements, to describe the right requirements, so that business analysts go back, and while they're alone, they will write the requirements based on the input from product owners. So I will just repeat what I said in one sentence. Your role is to organize the work of business analysts and product owners and product managers so that you do not block your software development teams or other teams in their work. The bottleneck in requirements is one of the most common problems on bigger projects, and you should be very mindful about how you organize your work in general, because this ongoing definition of requirements and clarification of requirements it's an additional workload for the whole team, because you need to plan, you need to discuss requirements, you need to do these groomings with the teams, you need to prioritize the requirements, you need to speak with customers about these priorities. So it all takes time while you still need to do the main development part of the work. All right, I hope this answers your question. By the way, guys, if you are just joining, let me remind you that we're talking about skills and knowledge. And one of the top skills that most project managers lack is project tailoring. It's your ability to combine and adopt different tools and processes in one practical project management framework that works in the given company with real people, with the tools that you have, and processes and policies that are mandatory in this company. And if you want to master this skill, I strongly recommend that you get my professional development plan. You can scan this barcode. I'll keep it for a few seconds more. You can find the link below this video somewhere and get it for free. It will give you a short list of items that you need to master to become a great project manager. And I will give you some examples and corner cases. I'll show you how tailoring actually works in the real world. All right? Don't forget to get it. All right, let's move on. More questions. All questions are great, by the way. I really enjoy the depth and practical problems. I'm struggling to transition to IT PM. I'm Prince 2 and Agile Project PM practitioner certified. I'm finding coming out of civil services a little bit tougher than usual, or the IT department. Yeah, I totally get it. It's a real challenge because you don't have direct experience and you're trying to jump at the same level job. My only recommendation here is that you must create a great resume, and you need to have a great, correct mindset about what it takes to get the job. I would recommend that you accept, again, it's like mindset stuff, that it will take time. It will take a lot of applications. It will take a lot of persistence, trials and errors. And maybe you may start with some smaller companies, smaller projects, stay there for a few months, and then try to jump to the next bigger role. But in essence, again, there is no silver bullet here. You need great resume that positions you as a capable leader and project manager who can lead technical experts by using their leadership skills. And you need to apply to those jobs consistently, ask for feedback on your resume, on your candidacy, on the interviews, and so on. And you build this skill and you build your network. And one of the companies will actually take you as a project manager. Guys, I would be honest with you. I work with lots of people, project managers. They're all ambitious project managers because they want to learn. But basically, I can tell you that a lot of them don't have all the required skills to lead the projects that they were able to get as their job. So there is a strong lack of good project managers capable of leading complex projects. And that's why when you see job openings and you don't meet all the requirements, you still need to apply to those jobs and prove that you can lead those teams. Because in most cases, these job descriptions, it's just a wish list. And companies will hire anyone who will prove that they're capable of running this or that project. And it's their responsibility to test you and assess your skills in that. Don't make their job easier. Apply to all those jobs. Take some leaps of faith if you need. Be bold about it. Don't lie, of course, but be confident that you will be able to sort things out as they go. Okay. And I don't have a slide here with me, but guys, uh, nowadays getting a job is also a game of numbers. There is just mathematical statistics that or probability that your resume people don't see when you apply. You might apply to even 10 jobs or 20 jobs, and there is still a possibility that none of the recruiters actually got to your resume. So you just need to be more patient and apply to more jobs. You need a system for job search where you search job openings first, then you apply to them, and you separate these activities, and then you are tracking what interviews you get, what interviews or what job openings you were rejected from, and you do follow-ups. And basically it's very hard to do without a tool, and I recommend ClickUp in this case. You can watch my video on ClickUp, and you can easily set up a simple Kanban board to capture all those sites and jobs that you want to apply to them, follow up on them, and track your job search efforts. All right, how does PMO influence the responsibilities of IT project managers? Another good question. So in the real world, there are different types of PMOs, and PMO is a project management office. And usually this office is a body that helps to run projects in this organization. So they can either help you with just advice, with some setup, with some tools. They might act as data analysts and reporting body, or they can be very prescriptive, and they will tell you exactly how to run a project. They will have some playbook or some instructions that you must follow, a set of policies, a set of principles that you must follow. So if you have a PMO office in your organization, you need to ask them directly. So what is their actual role? Do they support? Do they command and insist on using some tools and techniques? Or they are just here to support you in any way possible? Additionally, you might be a project manager and PMO officer, or someone who is inside the PMO, because in most companies, all project managers contribute to the development of the project management culture. That's why you will participate in those meetings and in those activities that will allow you, by the way, to share your knowledge and expertise and help them improve project management in the organization. And that's a great opportunity for you to build your position, build your career in any organization if you come up with simple solutions, simple processes, simple tools that can be integrated in the current project management framework. Will this be available as a recording, please? Yes, it will be on my YouTube channel. All right. You're welcome, James. What would you recommend doing when starting in a new company as a PM? So assuming you would be thrown on a project within the first week for onboarding, and you need to become productive immediately. So I think I answered that question in the beginning. I will just summarize what it takes. But I will add the joining a new company part. For everyone who is here for the rest of your career, whenever you join a new company, you should ask for success criteria to pass your probation period. What you need to achieve in 7 days, what you need to achieve in 1 month, what you need to achieve in 3 months. In most cases, I recommend that you either get the checklist that you can quantify and measure and show the progress to your leadership to show that you like passed all their requirements, you achieved everything they asked for. If they ask for something immeasurable or not clear, ask them for more direct instructions. And usually it will boil down to asking them, okay, what should I include as my behaviors? What behaviors do you expect from me to succeed with this point or that point? And then you will be just checking with them, having some checkpoints and showing your progress, and asking them questions and clarifications on how to achieve different things. It's also critically important, I think, to use this again as stakeholder management part and ask them for a list of people that they think will be useful for you to talk with in the organization beyond your team. Next, what you do with the project itself. If you are just like joining the company, in the first week you get a project, internal or external. Number one, identify the nearest milestone. Number two, meet your clients and stakeholders. Number three, meet your team if you have one. If not, work with stakeholders to acquire it. And number four, start with project chart, I would say, in any form that you can to collect this information that a typical project charter contains. That would be what I would do. I would say that focusing on building relationships with the team and customers and stakeholders would be always the top priority for all new project managers in a new company. To be productive, I'll just like mention it quickly. Every project manager should have develop and again tailor to their needs productivity system rather that allows you to make your days look like a set of routines rather than a set of random events that's happening just outside of your control and you're jumping from one meeting to another. Again, I have a video on that. Actually, I have several videos on that. You can search the channel. And productivity system in a new company is also a key because lots of information will come your way and you need to control it very efficiently. All right. Gulav, thanks, Dmitro. Thank you, Gulav, for participating. Glad that it's useful. How do you manage a stakeholder that feels that they are not getting the benefits of the project based on resources provided and ROI? That's like grandmaster level questions. So let me think. Actually, that's a really powerful question. So how do you communicate the benefits? First of all, again, one important point here. Sometimes you cannot because there are no clear benefits and definitely no clear ROI for someone to participate in the project or allocate resources, so they are not getting anything back in return from that. It's totally possible. Second, I would say that if we're talking about the benefits and specifically ROI, return on investment, if you're not familiar with the term, I would say it's a problem that should be communicated between stakeholders of this similar level or with their bosses. Because as a project manager, you're just trying to acquire resources from the stakeholder. And if they are not your peers, if you don't have this at least maybe one level higher, if you don't have this connection and this understanding that our bosses asked us to collaborate, then you need to go one level higher. And in this case, I would arrange a meeting between this stakeholder, their boss, and maybe my peer stakeholder of the same level as this stakeholder, and let them talk through this. Maybe there is no ROI right now. Maybe it will be a negotiation between, like, okay, you help us on this project, we promise to support you next time on your project. Maybe we'll allocate some resources later to you in return. So again, it's a negotiation process. It's a process of finding a win-win solution for both parties here. And if there is no way to immediately show the return on investment, if there is no way to show ROI from the project's results, you may try to think about, like, outside of the box, cliche saying, but think about other factors, other things that you can bring to them as a benefit outside of your project, outside of the product that you implement. And in most cases, I would say that it will be like a forced communication from top to bottom, from their bosses to the stakeholder, to explain them that's something that we must just do because we already arranged it, or our bosses asked us to do that. So again, I would say a lack of communication, but not from your side, but from somewhere higher up, where this stakeholder shouldn't ask you how they are going to get ROI. They should ask their bosses and your boss why should they participate and who decided that. All right. Okay, I will make one pause here, maybe to explain one more thing. As I promised, I have some cool slides for you. And this is something that hopefully will broaden your understanding. And maybe, by the way, Rodney, that's also is something that will help you in such situations. You see, this is our structure of how we get from the project objectives into the requirements, into work that we need to do, into deliverables, user stories, and tasks. And let's assume that there are tasks that we need to go and ask other department to do for us because we need their resources, and they say, we don't know, why should we allocate these resources to you, we don't see any benefit from this project, blah blah blah. So if you have this kind of structure in your head, it will allow you actually to go back from task to user story to deliverable to scope statement or requirements traceability metrics, and see who asked for this work. And you will identify a stakeholder which will be your champion for this user story, for this work. And you can go back to them and say, okay, here's your requirement. It's critical based on your input. We came up to a solution, but this solution requires us to collaborate with another department, and they don't want to dedicate resources to us. Please go talk with your colleague, another executive or department manager, and convince them that we need their help. And maybe they can provide some value explanation or ROI from their side. Do you guys notice how long the chain here between getting support from other departments on specific tasks or specific engagement and specific work that we need from them, going back through multiple tools, multiple concepts and ideas to find the leverage? Sometimes you have these tools, sometimes you don't. But even if you don't have these tools, such diagrams, such tailoring of the processes allows you to find these connections, to find the good solutions based on what you have on your plate, on your project. But from the other side, another interesting idea here is that uh, everything that you work on should eventually end up in weekly progress report. And that's another thing that lots of project managers do totally uh, incorrect. First of all, they don't give enough information in the progress report, or they give incorrect information. And you may think that customers are actually interested in what tasks you did, what user stories you finished. At some level, they do. But at the same time, progress report is actually not about reporting on things you actually finished or didn't finish. That's an interesting idea, don't you think? In essence, your weekly reports are like they have one goal. They have one goal of asking your customers to do something that you cannot do yourself in the context of specific piece of work, which is urgent, it's happening right now, and that's why they need to act right now. So whenever you start talking about tasks, about specific, I don't know, metrics or specific data about those tasks, you lose them. You go one level up to the user story or requirements that they want to be implemented, they're invested in, and you are connecting your reports and your risks to that requirement, that piece of deliverable that they want. And you prompt them to act as quickly as possible on things that matter for them the most. And this brings us to one critical idea, guys, that project tailoring actually happens not only between processes and tools. Stakeholder engagement, communication, motivation, leadership, everything should tie up. In essence, your leadership approach, your communication approach, your motivation techniques, they should also tailor to different processes and tools inside the organization. And weekly progress report is one example of how to integrate or tailor a process, a tool in your case, with the soft skills or interpersonal relationships with your customers. Super high level idea, but that's something that happens on your daily work all the time. And for example, let's think about this from a different perspective. Whenever you feel like customers, uh, every time when you send customers your estimates, and they are like asking for every single detail in those estimates, or you send progress report and they see that you promised to deliver or promised to finish one task and you didn't deliver it for some reason, and they're going crazy and escalating that. Or when customers ask for some research work and then they say that actually we didn't ask for it and you wasted their resources, instead you should have focused on that. That's a problem which lies in this area, in this landscape, where you didn't integrate correctly, you didn't tailor your tools to the stakeholder engagement and communication processes and approaches that you have. Instead, you should have created your weekly progress report in such a way that provides the required information, provides enough information and transparency so that customers actually believe you. Because it's okay when you start a new project and they ask to give all the details for the first few times, first few reports, they ask questions. But like 3-5 weeks into the project, it should be like, if I get a report, this project manager has it under control. I just need to see if they have questions that I need to answer or actions I need to take. So they don't even read that report. They just read your summary and take the action that you ask them. So it's all about building trust. And you can build trust if you don't have the tailored processes to provide them all the required information to feel confident that that's the only great solution, that there is no other great project manager that will do it better, because that's the proof that your estimates, your breakdown, your questions, your risks are really actual. They are happening. They're here. You're not trying to hide buffers in your tasks. You don't try to hide risks into your estimates, and that's why they are looking so big and bloated. All right, that's cool. And by the way, guys, I didn't mention, but when we go into this, let me just try to turn this on for you again. I've been talking about this professional development plan. I forgot to mention that I included all the templates and some links to best resources for you in this professional development plan, so that you can quickly jump and get what you need instead of collecting all my templates from different videos right now. So, for example, you'll find the risk management plan template, the whole risk management framework plan that you can take, adjust, and use it on your project as is, with stakeholder registers, with RAID logs, whatever you need for risk management. Same goes for scope management, same goes for stakeholder management. Stakeholder register is there, so lots of good stuff. So it's all in one. But guys, I'm sharing this with you with one big idea in mind, that you are not just taking it, looking at it and seeing that, okay, it's very complicated, it looks heavy, I don't know how to use it. I actually want you to try to use all those stuff on your projects. Even if it's not like super, how should I say it, natural implementation. If you just start using a risk register right now, you take it from this development plan, you take a risk register, you maybe adapt it a bit, and you just do risk management identification, like logging those risks yourselves without the team. You just try what it takes to identify risk, what it takes to track risks on daily basis. That would give you a tremendous boost in skills to go out and understand what are the challenges. If you are actually need to implement this next time on the next project, if your customers or your employer or PMO office will say, hey, in our company, you must use risk register. And if you did it, like I said, you try to use it, you will already be more prepared to tailor that risk register into your new project management environment. If you try to do it for the first time because for some reason you decided, okay, we don't need a risk register, we don't need project charter, we don't need stakeholder management right now on my company, do not expect that you get onto a big project in a big company and you will magically start using it efficiently for the first time. So everything that you will find in this development plan, each point is critical to not just know the theory. It's critical that you try to apply it, even on small project that you lead right now. All right? That's the big idea behind using this development plan compared to learning another certification or getting another certification or passing another online course. You need to balance practical implementation with your theory knowledge. Good. If you didn't get it, scan the barcode or find the link below this video. And we'll get back to a few more questions. We still have time. Let me see. Okay, Rodovan, remote or part-time to gain experience and learn? Well, whatever you can get your hands on. So if you can get remote project management work, that's great. If you can get part-time, that's also great. I would say it's a matter of income constraints. If you can get a job at a lower salary rate and you can stick with it for a few months to get practical experience, like 6 months, for example, you can already build a better resume. And if you will like keep in mind that you are building a resume, you'll use those 6 months most efficient way, specifically for developing a resume, not to do something else. And basically that's all. That's all I have to say to you, Radovan. I truly believe that getting your first project management job is the most challenging part of this career, because after that you're starting competing with your experience rather than theoretical stuff or unrelated experience. So take whatever you can and whatever will sustain your lifestyle and go from there. As a PM, how do you help a new social healthcare organization succeed in the social healthcare sector? So that's a good question, an open-ended question. I like that. But I will, like, full transparency, I have zero knowledge or experience in healthcare sector. So I will try to just conceptualize it on a big level, on high level. So if you're a project manager and you have some initiatives that you are doing right now, and you still have capacity and time, your own time, first of all, I would go and I'll do some research. Specifically, I'll be like maybe interviewing people who are using some kinds of tools inside the organization. For example, I don't know, nurses, doctors. I would try to see what tools they are using and what they complain about, what they spend most of their time when they are interacting with those tools, or what they do still in a manual way. So if they are still using pen and paper, if they need to transfer information from one tool to another, that will be most probably my go-to ideas to find the project proposals. And if I have some kind of authority or leverage to suggest new projects, I would go this route. I'll find these inefficiencies. I'll try to grade them or rate them based on how difficult it is, how feasible it is, how much resources they will require, and what's the impact, how many people will be impacted by this improvement. And I will start suggesting small improvements. Again, I would start with very small improvement just to test the ground of collaboration and starting a new project in this environment. After that, we also need to understand that, yeah, we know how to manage our project, we lead the project, but around us in this same organization, you have a lot of things that happen, that I would say work that happens, and this work is actually projects, but they don't call it as a project and they don't have project managers to do it. I would also look around and see if I can share my knowledge and skills, do some trainings to other people who are not project managers to make them more efficient in achieving some goals in that organization. Yeah, I think that would be the first two. And from there, if I see other problems, I would go and try to unroll them. But it boils down to start interviewing people and asking them questions like, what are you frustrated with in terms of IT systems here or in terms of processes? What what do you can suggest as an improvement that maybe I, as a project manager, can push upwards and we can try to implement it? And I would rate and prioritize this list and try to find ways to initiate new project for myself and other project managers. I hope this answers your question because maybe there are some specifics that I don't know about healthcare organizations where you can uh, do some initiatives yourself or you have to like manage those initiatives. So if that's the case, maybe you can clarify what's your question. Laura, thanks, great response. You're welcome. Thanks, understood. You're welcome too. Great. How can we succeed in IT project manager interview? Are there specific strategies or templates to present ourselves more efficiently? Any guidelines would be much appreciated. Uh, yeah, that's a good question, Gleb. So I would say that the best strategy I learned from passing the interview process in Amazon for technical program manager role. And the essence why it's so such a great experience is that I had to come up with a lot of examples and stories from my experience how I achieved some stuff in different areas of leadership and project management. How I use, for example, data to make correct decisions. How I insisted on better quality and improved processes. How I engaged with demanding stakeholders. And if you want to succeed on interviews, you want as much as possible to stay away from theoretical questions and situations on those interviews. Instead, you want to answer all questions from your experience perspective, saying that, okay, on that project or in that scenario, I have a story where I did exactly that. Let me tell you quickly that. And you start sharing your experience and describing your talents through the stories. And those stories should ideally have some great achievements, great accomplishments behind them. And when I say great, just quantifying those achievements and specifying them will make them great. It's not like you need to have backlog of super huge projects in big companies. No, I just mean that you need to clearly communicate that you achieved something, you're proud of that. Now, when you have this list of stories, you can uh, create, and by the way, you will always get the tell me about yourself question, and you can structure it in such a way that you highlight these stories, like 3 to 5 of them through your whole experience. You highlight them, and you will ask recruiters if they want to dive deeper into any of these areas that you mentioned, and you will explain that story. And then each story should go from one story to another, and to another. This way, you can and should be able to drive interviews in any direction that you want. But you should, this comes with a caveat that you should understand what value a project manager brings to any organization, and based on job description, what this organization specifically want to get from you. Things like, and it's very easy to understand just by reading it carefully. Things like they want to for you to manage a project from start to end independently, or they want you to build business with the customers, and that would be the ideas that you want to highlight in your stories, or prioritize at least them for discussion. Again, theoretical questions, they are a dead end. People ask theoretical questions, especially if you are you're interviewed by a project manager and they start to ask you theoretical questions. Something went wrong, because either they are not a great project manager and they don't understand this, or you said something that communicated that you have no relatable experience, no relevant experience that they can compare to or relate to. That's why they decided to test your theoretical knowledge, because that's something that you can talk about. But you should be communicating that I did some projects or something that resembles a project, and I can explain it in project management terms so that you can compare it with your experience, something like that. So stories, I would say stories, situations, and behaviors is the key to success in interviews. It's not about your skills, your knowledge, how certified you are. No one cares. Everyone cares about your ability to apply skills in that specific organization. That's why, again, tailoring, your ability to apply principles and concepts in different tools, your ability to connect different tools which already exist, your ability to integrate new tools and processes into existing uh, existing solutions, your ability to creatively, sometimes you should be very creative about how to implement a project management concept inside tools that you have. All right, I hope this answers your questions. All right, guys. Okay, guys, I will remind you just one more time, there is a development plan. And what I'm talking about today, it comes from this plan mostly, because we are talking about how to put together a practical project management framework from all the knowledge that you gain from certifications, articles, YouTube channels, books, and you just take bits and pieces from those things and create a framework that you can name with yourself. I don't know, we can call it Rodney's project management framework or Dmitrov's project management. By the way, I have my own already, so I'm ahead of the curve here. So, all right, I recommend that you scan this barcode, get the template, not template, but get the plan. It includes a lot of templates that you can use, and you can learn a lot of practical stuff that will help you improve your tailoring skills. And guys, if the link doesn't work, I see Rodney wrote that link doesn't work for someone, I'll just paste here in the comments the link directly. You can use it as well. All right. All right. So I will finish this live stream unless you have more questions. It's your maybe last opportunity to ask one more question. I will go and show you one more interesting slide, because I'm pretty sure everyone can relate to this. Let me just hide myself. So everyone, once in a while, I'm sure you thought about implementing risk management framework in your project. You know the value of risk management in any project. And then you go on the internet and start looking around, and you probably saw this framework where you identify risks, you put them in the risk register, you do quantitative and qualitative risk analysis, you select risks that you want to somehow manage, you develop risk responses, implement those risk responses, and then you monitor additional risks. And the biggest problem comes with this uh, bottom right corner, where it's like shows that implementing risk responses actually means updating your project management plan. And guys, if you are still here, work with me for a second. How many times have you talked about risk management with your stakeholders, with your bosses, and all the risk responses actually ended up as just talking on a meeting about risks? Or you actually did a lot of this framework, you identified risks and you identified how to fight those risks, but all of that was a superstructure to all other work. So basically, all risk responses that you came up with was the additional work. They didn't show up in planning, they didn't show up in your sprints. So you just had to do this work in addition to all the development work with your teams. So this is a pain point that a lot of project management areas have, is when, yes, the concept is actually quite straightforward. You need to find the risks, you need to identify the action plan, how to implement it, but after that, it's not clear how to include it and make it a part of your project management plan. And from my experience, uh, I had different solutions for that. So a lot of you work in Jira or similar tool, you run sprints, and you don't manage risks at all. Maybe you have some buffer for that. But at the same time, when you don't have risks related to your current sprint, you most probably always have risks that impact the whole project. If that's true, then uh, you're not tracking those risks and they're like hanging around somewhere and they may happen, but you don't have a process or system to manage them in the right way. So what's the solution here? If you are using Jira, just create a new issue type, which will be risk, and start managing them. And you can have sprint specific risks that you need to deal with in the current sprint, or maybe it will be sprint after sprint, ongoing risk, or it will be project risk, like high level project risk. Things like if customers don't provide the specification from their third party database, we will not be able to implement anything from sprint 7 and forward. This way, you integrate risk management, risk activities, and risk responses into your sprints in a very transparent way. And again, whenever risk happens and you show your sprint planning, you show your sprint board during some daily stand ups, these risks will be always visible to everyone. If something happens, something goes wrong in this case, it will be so much easier to explain to your stakeholders and your project owners why things go wrong, and that you and your team did everything possible to avoid those risks, but they just happened, and now we need to mitigate the negative impact. If you don't do this, and the risk that was somewhere flying around in terms of emails or questions or requests, and it starts blocking your work here and right now, that's when they will blame you. So you want to avoid that. You want to, again, understand these concepts, but after that, you need to implement them in certain way, which integrates with the tools, with the tasks, with the day-to-day work that you do. It shouldn't stay on the level of concepts, on the level of some superstructure above project management. All right. Okay. Let me I would take it as a last question. All right. Rashmi so asks, what would you recommend to a professional who has always worked as a software QA engineer and is now trying to break into project management? How could he get his first break into a new company? So I would say that, Rashmi, you are in a better position than people who want to jump into project manager role outside of a company or outside of an IT industry, because the easier way to get your first project management role is get promoted to it. And in this case, you go in your current company, you go to your boss and say that you want to uh, transition into a project manager's role. Could you please find me a suitable project, like starting project, maybe some small initiative that I will try as a first experience? And I have already read this book. I took the course. I know the basics. I know how to do it. I have some experience leading my colleagues, so I have the all the fundamentals covered. I won't be just like uh, sorting it all out with real people, with real customers. So uh, if like in most cases it will take some time because like new customers, new projects do not appear right away, but if you can give your current employer some time to sort this out, they will eventually find your project, because hiring a new project manager, onboarding them, uh, paying them higher salary will be more challenging than promoting you and finding a QA to fill out your space. In some cases, you will have to remind them a lot about yourself, that you have this goal, and you need to give them some time. If you have a deadline on that, you should set a deadline and say that, guys, if you don't provide me these opportunities, I will start looking outside. And then if they don't provide you with these opportunities, you will go again on a job search, and you will do two things. You will apply for QA roles in other companies, and hopefully you will do some research on those companies and see if they are growing, if they have uh, some cases of promoting people to a career, to other careers. You may ask that on interview. And second path, second like parallel job search, you'll do for a project manager's role and try to find uh, jump right in a project manager's role right away. And if you get a project manager's job, that's good. If not, you get another job in another company as a QA. On the like after probation period, you again say that I'm actually thinking about getting into a PM role. Can you like start looking for a project for me? And the cycle repeats. Now, again, in any case, whatever you do, you need a resume of a project manager. So you need to convert your QA's experience into something that relates to a project manager's role and positions you as a aspiring project manager with experience in IT industry, with experience leading other team members, with experience of leadership without authority, and all the required uh, like stuff for a new project manager. You cannot work around this. You need a resume of a project manager. And whenever you get from in your current company or the next company, you definitely want to start thinking about how to improve your resume and position yourself as a better candidate for a PM role. Right? I assume I covered this part. So again, resume, trying to build that resume in your current company or a new company. Maybe you need to actually change your jobs and get another QA role first to get more exposure to leadership aspects of the work. Maybe you need to first try to get into team lead role and get the leadership experience. Again, it don't think about it as like several years of your career. It's more like intentional 6 to maybe 8 months to get a team leader role, get the experience, fill out your resume, and then start switching to a PM role in other company. Radovan. So, Dmitro, if someone completes your course, is there a chance for recommendation to start at least an internship somewhere or get recommendation to apply for some decent PM or assistant PM job? I kind of don't have any serious network of job opportunities or recruiters that I can directly recommend you to. But the course can help you in several ways. So, for example, you get certification after completing the course, and you can share it and get a bit of like additional authority on LinkedIn in your resume as someone who passed that interview, and you can mention me there. I will be glad to chime in on that post and share my recommendations or my thanks on that. To give you a recommendation directly, that's most probably I will need to interview you. I need to do some assessment and add to your post some kind of, or to your LinkedIn profile, some recommendations, and based on that assessment. I don't have this as a standard practice right now, but we can try to sort this out. Unfortunately, right now my courses are closed, so you will have to wait until January. I did the same, but I cannot put PM title, so not getting any break. How to overcome this? I'm holding PMP certification. So I assume when you say that you cannot put PM title, you mean I cannot name myself in my own resume as a project manager. In this case, I should say that it's your resume. It's the way you want to position yourself in the world, in the hiring market, and you can name yourself as a aspiring project manager, as a junior project manager, or something like that. Basically, these are two options. And you can, and you should write your whole resume from the perspective as yes, I am a QA, or I am any other role, but I have related or indirect experience of doing what project managers do. And if you got PMP certification, it means that you filled out what it's called, the form for the exam or for the certification, where you listed out relevant experience for a project manager, something that you did. So try to reuse that, and basically you should copy that information that you shared with PMI when you applied for PMP certification and reflect it all in your resume. And you will be talking about yourself as a capable person who is interested in project management, who is PMP certified, who has the experiences, small experiences of running small projects or small initiatives. Again, Anna, if you did a lot of shadowing in PM areas, if you can claim that you have experience in those areas, then definitely that should go into your resume. You need to understand that your resume is an advertisement. Again, it's your resume, and in 99% of cases, companies will not go to your past employees to ask them if you had the exact title as you say in your job. That's one thing. Yes, I don't recommend that you lie on your CV. You should be totally transparent. But the way it works, when you say that I want to be a project manager, but you apply with a resume that speaks about quality assurance engineer, and everything in that resume is about quality assurance engineer, recruiters will think that you just misclicked or applied to a wrong job. That's all. They will not spend their brain power to see if you have anything related to a project manager. You must communicate it. So put a junior project manager or aspiring project manager as the top title of your resume. Write the description or summary of your resume as I am aspiring project manager with PMP certification, with lots of experience helping actual project manager or doing project management activities, and I'm looking for an opportunity to become a project manager. That's your summary. Then you say, okay, I was a QA here, but here are bullet points, achievements that I did as a project manager, as if were a project manager. I was unofficial project manager. I know how to manage a team. I manage my sub team, for example. I help my PM to write reports, communicate with customers, whatever. I used a lot of Jira. I customized Jira. Whatever you can pull in that will help to position you as a project manager. And again, guys, that's a good question because it brings me down to the main topic of today's conversation when we talk about tailoring and what value a project manager brings into an organization, and what should your resume speak about. Is it about your theoretical knowledge or what you know about project management? Is it something that actually employees want to see, that you are PMP certified, that you are you know the terminology, you know that, or do they want actually to get validation, verification that you, Anna, can go come to our company and organize the work of people to run an IT project or software development project? And what would communicate it better? A list of these, like just processes and tools and keywords in your resume, or a statement which says that I actually managed a group of people, even if it's like 3 people. I managed or I led an initiative to improve my area of expertise or my sub team, my quality assurance part, and I achieved the results. I finished this small, tiny project successfully. I can guarantee that for the same role, if you're like a new project manager, the person who will communicate the best that they have relevant experience, even if it's not under the title of a project manager, will get the job. And sometimes you will get the job overcoming competition of a real project manager who did the same stuff even for a short period of time. He has hands-on experience, but they didn't communicate it correctly. All right. So, oops, let me just do this. What should I do to prepare before enrolling in your PM course? Well, there are no prerequisites for my PM course because I'm confident and I have a lot of data, because lots of my students are not, well, by the time they joined the course, they were not project managers, and they were able to master project management after it. I have a great example of, and I share this testimonial from Albert, who was a engineer in a railroad company, and after the course, he became a go-to expert in project management in that organization. So no prerequisites. I also have you considered offering a pre-interview screening service for people. So the only like prerequisite is that you need to enroll during one of the enrollment periods. The next one will be either in January or February next year. So stay tuned for that, and you can enroll there. I do offer some one-on-one coaching for project managers on almost any topics related to project management, leadership, and career development. Again, with the caveat that my experience comes from IT industry. Uh, you can reach out to me and we can talk about specific arrangements, right? Okay, guys, I will wrap up for today. I thank you so much for participating, for all the great questions, lots of great questions. I really enjoyed hanging out with you. And stay tuned for the next live stream. I think it will be a bit different idea, but I'm sure it will be super valuable and it's very actual for all project managers right now. We'll be talking about project management tools. All right. So